I know what you're asking, Chiefs Kingdom. Is there a plan? Yes, there is a plan. I swear. We're going to go through it. We're going to walk through Brett Veach's plan, what has to happen and how it can happen tonight. Dan's going to tell you what he thinks that way. I'm going to tell you what I think, and you're going to tell us what you think. And we're going to answer all your questions tonight, live on RGR Football. Hey, we're all back. Dan Harms, how are you doing?
I'm great. You guys can finally see I made some updates. I know if you weren't with me last night at the unveiling of the little lights behind me. I'm also got my HD camera set up. Like we're getting going over here. So it's finally like a real office and set up and all nice looking and stuff. Except behind everything is all a mess.
That's all right. That's behind the camera. That doesn't matter. You should see mine. Folks, this is where it gets fun because we are pushing the boundaries here. Now that we're full HD all the time, my internet, knock on wood, is generally fairly steady these days. It's like light years have passed since we started this. So welcome. I hope that you guys are in for a good night. We're going to go through what the Chiefs have to do. And I think the plan is starting to pick up speed. Did a little bit earlier, hour or two ago, little piece on what the gauntlet looks like because it's getting tougher. And I know everybody thinks I'm overreacting to what Matt Ryan can bring to the Colts. We're going to get Dan's opinion. We're going to get yours as well. And then we're going to answer your questions because I think this is key for Brett Veach's plan is what do you have to face in the AFC? If you're new to this channel, this is what we do. We talk Chiefs and NFL, the draft, the whole 9 yards. Hit the like right now and help us with this video. Get it out to more people. Hit the sub so you get more information and you're one of us. And hit the bell so that you know what happens. Because every now and then I'll just throw something live because something happened, and that's always kind of fun. So, what are you gonna do? It's like it's free agency time. The draft's almost here. It's like a million things are happening. Yay! We appreciate all of your support. I know there's going to be a ton of super chatters in the house tonight. That's the easiest way to support us. So we will say thank you right now, and we'll thank you every time that we do. If you do want to support us, please ask a question. That's what tonight is, the Q&A just for you guys. We will answer all of your super chats tonight, no matter what. And if you want to help even more, you can grab some gear over in the RGR store. It's linked in the show description. And again, I want to make sure that I hit this every time until draft night. Special code for you guys, RGR22AM, gets you the athletic matrix. That's also going to be the draft guide code. I'm just going to tell you now. So you can use the same code. Everybody on this channel, all of our fans here, you're going to get the same discount for both, and you don't have to remember 2 codes and all that kind of garbage. So hit rogueapc.com and grab that. It also is in the description. So, Dan, they can't plan for all these things to happen, but what's your reaction to not only Russell Wilson, but now Deshaun Watson? I think that makes Cleveland a contender. And now Matt Ryan actually, I think, improves the Colts. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I didn't have every quarterback in the entire NFL wanting to join the AFC this offseason on my bingo card. Like, that just wasn't there. I couldn't just knock it off because who expected that to happen? That's usually the reverse. Like, it's really, really tough. So quarterbacks are like, let's stay in the NFC. Like, Tom Brady right now is like, hey, guys, I'm coming back because this is a cakewalk. There's no quarterbacks in the NFC. There's Aaron Rodgers, and he can't play in the playoffs. We've seen that happen. So Tom Brady got nothing to worry about. This is it's interesting. The whole quarterback stuff. We're gonna wait and see because I'm not sold on Deshaun Watson actually playing this year yet. We're gonna have to find out if that actually comes to fruition. But yes, Matt Ryan 100% makes the Colts a contender. Like, I think if he was on their team last year, they would have been in the playoffs and made noise. 100%.
That's what I thought.
That's made real noise. And I know that Matt Ryan doesn't have the arm strength in terms of getting it to the outsides consistently anymore, but he knows where everyone's going to be on the field. He understands anticipation, and with an actual run game, like a real run game. When's the last time that Atlanta had a run game? It's when they were in the Super Bowl.
It was that weird dance, right?
So I think he's going to make them better. But this is the AFC saying, Kansas City, we are coming for you. Like, that's what this is all about. This isn't about going to get anybody else. This is about everybody else coming to say, look, we're coming after the Chiefs because the Chiefs have been in the postseason for 7 straight years, the most of any team in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're coming. That's what this is.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to say that it was just coincidence. It's not.
It's not a coincidence.
It's not. I mean, just the fact, like I was hopeful because I felt like the last remaining like AFC contender type roster that needed a quarterback was Indy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hopeful they were going to go the Baker route because I can count on Baker to screw something up.
It was so close.
Sorry, Browns fans. That's the real. I'm just telling you. I think this makes them more steady, and that's the problem. So the gauntlet's getting thicker. I did a piece on that earlier. Go check that out when this is done. There's a lot to it, and that's not all of it. You know, it's going to keep going. It's not going to get any easier. So the question is, how do you adapt it, and what do you do? There's a ton of questions already. Thank you, super chatters. E-Turn, you're the first one tonight. We're going to get you up here in a minute. I wanted to get all the hellos out of the way. Dan, what do you think of this one? I have my prediction, but who do you think wears the green dot next year?
It's going to be Nick Bolton. Hands down. That's who it's going to be.
My only question is it going to be 3 downs? Because I think they can designate 2 now.
It will
so
be.
I think, okay.
I think he'll be on because you said, Anthony Hitchens, goodbye. We no longer need your services. Nick Bolton is the future. They clearly are very confident in him. And exactly, I think that he showed more than what you and I are both expecting this year. And as much as he's got some limitations in coverage, I think mentally he knows what's there. I think he got the grasp of the NFL defenses and NFL offenses last year. He seemed to speed up to the game. So I liked to see that. And I think that he will be the green dot next year on all 3 downs.
Okay. I'm going to say the first 2 definitely. I think Willie might get the green dot as well so that he can take over on 3rd down.
It would be nice.
Yeah. I have to see that in order to think that he can be eventually be like Derek Johnson was and be the only linebacker on the field.
It'd be interesting.
So long term, that should be the goal, to have your best athlete be the guy that doesn't come off the field. So knock on wood. Okay, folks, we're gonna work through this pretty quick tonight, I'm thinking.
Yes, we are.
Terry, how much will Zadarius Smith cost to have him in KC? I'm hearing the number 17 thrown around at the Cowboys today that he's visiting. So
Cowboys aren't letting somebody else get out of their grasp. They let Randy Gregory get out. They're not going to let that happen to Zadarius Smith. This will be a bidding war. Kansas City doesn't want any part of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they can't afford it. I mean, that's the dumb fact of it, unfortunately. So it's going to be too much, is my thought, Terry. Patrick, thoughts on the backup that they signed, Jaron Christian, who signed. I thought he was okay. I didn't do a lot of film work on him coming out, just like maybe a game. Mm-hmm. I thought he had some potential. I didn't see him play, and I haven't gone back and checked. I think he got like 80 snaps for the Texans last year.
Something like that.
It's minimal production. This is based on what they had on him in the draft, is my opinion.
It's pretty much what it is. You have a guy who's got upside, who's got the length requisite that you want in Kansas City for that tackle spot. But it tells me that they're almost kind of comfortable with their position. He's a depth guy. And that tells me they didn't go out and try and get somebody else. They said, we have someone who they always like to bring in, depth guys they can develop, guys with the traits.
Come on. Are you going to gaslight our audience already? They don't want to hear that shite.
I know they don't want to, but I'm here to tell you. Lucas Niang, Andrew Wiley, right tackle, probably next year.
I said the same thing too. Like, they brought Wiley back for a reason, because they trust him.
Cheap
Doesn't
deal.
matter.
Too.
Yeah.
Cheap deal.
Ultimately cheap deal. And that helps the whole merry-go-round go round. So I think that those could be, if they go down to 8, those guys will both be 2 of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Would a CB vet like Peterson or Gilmore be value in the 2nd week? Yes, absolutely. It's less than it was last week. Is it low enough to be a value for performance? I love Patrick Peterson. I think Avery did too. And Gilmore, I think at this point, unfortunately, is a little bit more of a higher end player than Pat is right now. Do you agree?
I agree. And I would, if you can get Gilmore on a pretty decent deal, I'm all for it. But I don't want Patrick Peterson on this team. That's 5 years ago. Like,
or at least 3. I was still happy 3 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
It's too bad. Thank you, Pat. Hey, Dan, how many 3rd and 4ths is a first worth? I mean, it doesn't usually work that way. Nobody's going to give up a first for like multiple thirds.
Yeah.
But if it was, it'd be, I mean, people would move down a first to a lower first or a first to a second, and you would demand a third, if not a second. And then moving down like an entire round would probably be worth a third, a second, third, and maybe even a fourth. So if you're doing it on mock drafts, do not give up a first round pick for less than a second round pick as part of the package. Don't move that far back. Let's see. Cody, why is Zion so low on draft boards? Because he plays at a tiny school against very, very low competition. And that's the problem. He's an elite athlete that is, I wouldn't call him uber dominant, but he's fairly dominant. I mean, he is drastically better than people he plays against on a weekly basis. But that apples to oranges comparison makes it hard to show him against NFL talent. So it is an athletic upside, and that's why you don't make those bets until day 3. Have you seen any of his tape, Dan?
I haven't seen any of his tape, no. Just bits and pieces from games, not so much focused on him, but it's fun. It looks like we do have a report here about Zadarius Smith signing with the Vikings.
Oh, with the Vikings. All right. So Danielle Hunter, welcome out of town. Like, they're going to reduce his cost now. You're going to get him for less, is my thought.
We'll see if that's confirmed, but it hasn't been reported by one of the big ones yet, but it's
okay. No blue check mark. I'm not going there yet.
It was the Vikings SB Nation site, so we'll see.
That's okay. I'm not going to call them newsbreakers, but
me either. I'm just saying that they think it's about to happen. So
okay, so Alan, here is the Veach plan. He is looking for value amongst all else. Mm-hmm. He's going to plug and play guys that he can trust. That means veterans that are of that age bracket between the ones that are getting out at 25, meaning they had their base 4-year contract and their teams don't want them back. He's probably not looking for that. So he's going to go 26, 27. He wants a little bit of experience, but he wants guys that have been in the fire. So if you don't have a ton of experience, he might take you on upside, but you're going to be a backup. So that's why this whole thing with the pass rusher is so difficult. Now, he didn't plan to do anything the first week. Getting Justin Reed, I think if it wasn't such a good cost in terms of the deal, I don't think he would have done it already. Mm-hmm. I think we'd still be waiting for a signing there. So this is the point where I think it starts to pick up. Bringing a couple guys back, Wiley, Noddy, who could play 2 downs for you. I heard a lot of complaining about Noddy coming back.
It's silly. It's a perfect signing.
Exactly.
He's exactly what you want him to be.
And he will occupy 2 blockers on first and second down for at least 40 snaps a game. And that is perfect. So, no, he's not the upside pass rusher on the interior to help Chris. No, I understand that's what people are looking for. That's just not him, but he is a great value signing right here, you guys. Let's see. I'm going to let you take the next one, and I'm going to stack up some more because I think it's the first run from E-Turn, and then we got let's do his super chat first. Thank you, E-Turn. Appreciate your support.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you,
man.
Eternal. I always say that wrong. Can anyone explain the TM32 deal? Hear how great he is, and all but every team he's been on has not brought him back and don't want him back. Why? You have a theory?
I mean, for me, it comes down to money. I mean, the Texans, well, for the first time, it was the Cardinals, right? The Cardinals drafted him, and then he got hurt, and he had some off-field issues. Like, he had to get some of those things cleaned up. So he ended up doing it, going to Houston, and that's when it started to be, okay, you're going to be too much money for us at this point in your career. So they let him walk, and then he did. He got paid by the Chiefs in free agency. And again, at the end of this deal, we were all talking about him trying to reset the safety market like a few months ago. Like, that's what we thought he was going to want to do. And when you send that out to all the other teams, they're like, no, you are almost 30 years old. You don't get to reset the market, especially, and it's no offense to him, your size. You can't play like a Marcus Williams who did reset the safety market. You can't play like that. You're not big enough, and you're not strong enough, especially with your body style being it's going to start to take some injuries and stuff like that. So they don't want to pay guys like that. But he's going to end up getting a contract, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was in Kansas City this next year on a smaller deal. I would not be surprised in the slightest.
Yeah. I could see him returning as well. And just as to why it's consistently that way, Eternal,
Yeah.
It's because he plays at a high enough caliber, either Pro Bowl or All Pro, that he is justified in demanding that level of payment. And the farther on it goes, he outgrows his role on every roster. And unfortunately, it's the cost versus return, like Dan said, especially at 30. Running backs and safeties at 30, that's where you start to see the downturn. It's just the way it works. So history's against him is the problem. And I know he's fighting through it.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for the support, Eternal. And I know you had another one, so it's here. Frustrating that every AFC West team got significantly better while Casey's about the same. I understand that, but think about what you're saying. KC, the team that's been to 4 AFC championships, is about the same. That's pretty damn good. Yes, there's some gaps, but there's only so much you can do with the salary cap. And until they got the restructure done and the, having to franchise Orlando was unfortunate in terms of cap space. Having to get Patrick done to get the cap space to do all that, that's a problem. And so that's really, I think, the most limiting factor here. Do you, Dan?
Yeah, like they've hamstrung themselves a little bit with some contracts and things like that, which we all, as soon as it happened, one of the first things that I said about the Frank Clark thing was like, I don't like that contract. Like, I don't like it. I think I like the player, and I ended up being wrong about that. I didn't like the contract. It was not a huge thing. But they found their window. Okay. They were like, we're going to overpay some of these guys to come in and play and go win a Super Bowl. They did. This is some of the fallout from that. And every team at some point or other has to deal with that. Look at the Saints. They are going through it worse than Kansas City's going to have to deal with. So, as much as I think I understand the frustration from fans not going out and trying to get some of these top guys, but they've found ways to make it work the last couple years by finding some value signings. I think Juju's going to be a contributor. Wiley is already going to pay off. We know that. He's probably going to end up playing at some point this year. And also, Derek Nottie, a valued 2-down guy who's going to be exactly what you need in this defense. It's going to allow them to draft, get a bit younger, which is key going forward with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. They have to sacrifice some of your older, more expensive players to finally get the roster trimmed down to be a little bit younger than it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Caden, do you guys think the Veach doesn't end up getting Smith, he'll get Ingram? That'll be the plan. I think they've probably already discussed that. The problem is that Melvin wants to see what the market brings him.
Yep.
I could actually see him doing the exact same thing, signing somewhere else, wearing out his welcome, and coming back.
I think that if his market stays like this, he'll be back in Kansas City. Like, I think he's like, okay, I produced, I had something to show for my time there. They need somebody of my level of play in terms of the speed type of rusher who was really, really good against the run last year. If you couldn't tell, even for his age. So I expect him to be in Kansas City next year or this coming season.
Yeah, I am thinking that's the way that it works out too. I just don't know when.
We'll see. Yeah.
Curtis, did the Adams contract throw a wrench into the Hill contract negotiations? It did. So did Kirk. To give Christian Kirk that kind of money, unfortunately, every agent in the world goes, that's the bottom now. And it's just not worth it.
Well, I understand that. The difference is free agency is overpay. We know that. But in trading, when you have to extend, also comes with a little bit of an overpay. The Chiefs have Tyreek Hill still. So they have negotiating process here in period. Maybe you give him a little bit more than he's going to be getting on the free agent market next year to stay in Kansas. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Like, he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to play with Patrick Mahomes his entire career. That's what he wants to do. So you sugar it a little bit. So I think it's more of a screwdriver and not a wrench that threw in. It's not as big. It's not as big.
Just a hiccup in the gearworks. All right, fine. All right, man. I get it. That's a good way to put it. Brett, after the Reed signing, does that take Daxton Hill out of the first round plans for us? Absolutely not. Because Daxton Hill is a nickel corner / robber in that order. He's a coverage first guy, whereas I think Reed is going to play split high and into that robber and be the physical presence that he's always been. I can't see him changing the way he plays.
So I think it does, only because the enticing part about taking him in the first was he had safety, like be a starter safety level type of player in terms of filling a spot for you. Now it almost pigeonholes him on this team to be that nickel guy. So that's where the valuation comes in. Do you value him? Maybe they see him as being able to play outside too. If he can play outside, that would probably slide him back in the first for them. But if they only see him as a slot that maybe comes in as a safety every now and then, it probably slides him out of their first round board, in my opinion.
That could be true. I see him as a slot in the base and then moving back into a space player in the dime.
Mm-hmm.
And we know they want to play a lot of dime. So like I keep thinking that it's going to be Fenton at the nickel and the physical part of the nickel and let Dax play in space. And that I think that would still be attractive to them.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dan and I have watched the same player and come away with two different opinions. So you can see that this is about usage and how you decide to go about it. So we won't know until Spags decides and Brett Veach pulls the trigger for him. Colate, trade for Danielle Hunter or signs Zadarius?
I picked neither.
Neither.
Okay. I picked neither.
All right, we're on the same page. The problem is the cost right now is about the same, $18 million a year. And that's just it's for those two guys, one that was hurt all of last season and one that was hurt the majority of last season. That is a whole lot of money to invest in a season that you have to have production from that money. There's no way around that. So unfortunately, I think that lent itself to neither. Let's see what we have next. We just heard William. Dan just put it on air, but
it's been reported now that it's fake. The account was fake. So
okay. I mean, quite frankly, if you can get Zadarius at 12 or 13, I can live with it. I have serious issues about if it was truly that back injury that kept him out. Guys don't get over back injuries very easily. You ask Mitch Schwartz. If it wasn't the back injury and that was the Jalen Ramsey type excuse to not play for your team, then I don't want you on my roster anyway. Because I couldn't care less. But that's the rub. Let's see. Jared, how do you guys feel about the defense and what's possibly think that is Veach's plan? Go through that, and I'm going to stack some more questions.
All right. So, Jared, the thing about the defense is at the end of the day, they probably feel like their draft is going to be very defensive heavy. And like I talked a little bit about earlier, they do want to get younger. I think releasing Hitchens and not bringing Tyrann Mathieu back, signing Justin Reed kind of tells you that they want to get a little bit younger. And the draft is one way you can do that. Free agency is really more for those teams that are trying to get better at the cost of spending more money and getting more of those older proven players. And I think the Chiefs feel like they have some of those proven players on their roster. And now they want to kind of round it out with younger players, and that's going to end up being the draft. So I think that their plan is, unless they can, sign a Melvin Ingram in the next probably couple of weeks, it might even go on until the summer. Who knows with this kind of free agency stuff? Their plan is to build through the draft, and I think that has to be the way they go about it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, that's building for the future too, because if you put too much into this round of free agency, you're digging yourself a hole for the future all over again. Yep. And then you're back here in 2 seasons. And I think that's what you're trying to avoid overall as well. Julian, how you doing? The only way to stop the other 3 division rivals is to start with pass rush and the elite man and zone. And he likes Elam and Ajabo as draft picks. The problem is Ajabo's, I can't see him playing before week 10 or 12.
Yeah. And that's like the most optimistic approach.
Yeah.
I think if Ajabo's going to be your pick, you say you earmark him for 2023. You don't expect him to contribute at all this year.
Yeah. I can get down with Elam. I think he's a second round grade on my board, to tell you the truth. So I would hope that he's there. The problem is I think he's got enough for a couple of teams that they're going to grab him earlier than that. I don't know that you'll have a chance beyond 30. So it comes down to, do you think he can take half the field and be a shutdown guy, whether it's man or zone? I think he's got some skills in both. I don't think he's elite at either, though. Like I have Booth, Sauce, even Stingley, who I am very skeptical about, well over Elam. So it's just a risk. Scott, Rogue, yeah. I like that. Thank you, you guys. Julian, I know you'll have more. We'll get to more of your thoughts. Why KC fans want Smith? He has back issues and he's 30 years old. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's because he's a proven name that has been productive in the past. And that's honestly what you need right now. You're hoping to find a second Melvin Ingram, a second Sizzle. You know, I mean, Sizzle did pretty good. And it
he was good.
It led to, if you're a good pass rusher, even if you're 30, you can still bring something. Max, Thomas Brady posted TikTok with Edelman today. He looked like he was in good shape.
Go away. Julian Edelman at his best was an average slot receiver.
Go hit him. That's what I'm saying. Go hit Tom Brady. You don't want to play him anymore? Go hit him. Good Lord. Send the house, Spags. Just send the house.
Just send them.
Let's see. After today's Locked On mock draft, I think that I needed to get the Pats on the phone, right? Yeah, like that's the going trend. Like every mock that I've done for the last 2 days, the Pats want out of 21. I don't think that's real at all. I don't think know why that happened, but it is what it is. I try to roll with the punches, to tell you the truth, but I don't know. I was just happy, so I went with it as a best case scenario. And Mike, in your best case, most realistic scenario, who do you pick at 30? Best case. Best case.
That's a tough one because best case, I think you could see some corners there. But as we've seen, Brett Veach is like, no. I can find guys in the day 3, day 2, late maybe. I think your best case scenario as it stands now is Boy Mafe at 30.
Which is a bit of a reach. I have him as a second round grade.
I do too.
People, so we both do. So people that are saying, hey, that's a reach, yes, you're right. But I could take Booth at 30 and be comfortable.
I would love to have Andrew Booth in this defense. I would love it.
I don't think he'll be there. I think he'll go before that. I would take Drake London for this offense. I don't think he'll be there. I'm trying to think. Like, I would love to have Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd looks like the next coming of Derek Johnson meets Leonard in Indy. But they just spent 2 back-to-back second rounders on linebackers, and I can't say that makes the defense good enough to cover both the pass rush and the coverage that you have holes in.
Yep, that's exactly it. Like, it's also, there's 2 premium positions, corner and edge, and guess what? They need both. Bad.
Yeah.
So that comes down to, if your guys are off the board, what's happening? Are you taking best player available? You trading back? Are you taking a reach? I think it's Mafe is probably the best outcome in terms of guys they can realistically get at 30.
Yeah, and that's fair. See. I mean, my hope is that all this hype about Trent McDuffie is overpowered. I like Trent McDuffie too. I would take him at 30. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. And it would give somebody, I think, who is a little bit more naturally versed at mixed zone coverages, give Spags an excuse to play more zone and take that away and not get burnt.
But do they want to lean into that? That's the issue.
They need to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why would they?
Things. They're in the middle of the road. They either need to play more zone or they need to actually press instead of doing this patty cake BS that gets them burnt all the time.
That's what I'm saying, though. Spags doesn't want to. So why would he take a player that forces him to do something he doesn't want to do?
I don't know. I'm just venting.
I'm frustrated too. That's why they're not going to take Mafe, because he doesn't fit what they want, even though he's the player that they should take.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, long story short, Mike, the best case scenario is they get somebody at edge or corner that actually does something for them and maybe is a fit, or maybe Spags learns his lesson. Come on, Spags. I have faith in you, Steve. Finally made it to the live. I'm glad you made it, Ryan. Awesome, I see all of your comments. I'm glad you're here with us tonight. Will the Chiefs bring back Ingram, and who replaces him on the outside? Right now, they have no replacement, and I think they're going to try to bring him back, like we were talking about before. Brett, who steps in the leadership role on the defensive side of the ball, they're counting on Nick Bolton.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. And quite frankly, I love Juan Thornhill. I'm a big Thornhill fan. I don't think he's the vocal leader they needed. Justin Reed will fill that role.
I was about to say he's a Sammy Watkins player. Like that's a guy who
Yeah.
will come out there, do his job, but he won't say much about it.
Exactly. Justin Reed was the leader of the Houston defense after Tyron left. So like he's been in that role. He is Tyron Jr. in terms of like being the guy that they look to in the secondary. So with the position, will we get out the most out of Juju? What is his ceiling? I don't have he doesn't have to be the X. He doesn't have to be the slot for me. Does he for you, Dan?
No, this is Andy Reid's offense. No one is designated anything. They all move around. They will all play everywhere. All he's got to do, get open. The one thing you're being brought in to do is get open because they said, Byron Pringle, okay, you had your shot. We're not bringing you back. He got $6 million a year, which is more than they paid Juju Smith-Schuster. So they're bringing him in. I mean, he's got incentives, but that's not
right.
The guaranteed
but his base
money.
Is 3.5.
Yeah. So they brought him in and said, this is your job. You're playing alongside 2 Hall of Fame players. Get open.
Go get it.
Get open. That's it.
Thanks, Max. Ryan finally made it. I love these things. Well, thank you for saying that. And we appreciate you, Ryan. I appreciate your positivity
Very
in the
much.
chat as well. Bradley, I thought we were rebuilding the D-line, not re-signing Noddy and restructuring Clark. Noddy was always in the mix. I told you guys mid-season you have to bring him back because he's too good to take pressure off of the pass rushers and play that first down zero tech and get his ass kicked all day. Sorry for kids listening at home. I'm getting fired up now. Haven't slept that much.
We should have some of these 18 plus streams where we just have a little, just a spicy, just a little spice.
Yes.
Not too crazy, but a little bit.
Oh, and with Clark had him in a position where you were going to spend the money that you're spending on him this year either way. So you might as well get something out of it. Hopefully you can light a fire under him and get something out of it. If not, you were going to lose this money either way. So I think that's a value. It is a rebuild of the D-line. They still have to get it done, though. I think a lot of it's going to be in the draft. Chris, why aren't we signing any corners? We need them desperately.
Your guess is as good as ours, buddy.
It's money. I mean, just it's money, man. I'm going to pull up the list. In fact, I'll share this with everybody real quick.
We didn't see anything about Patrick Mahomes' restructure, so that didn't ever happen. So they didn't.
Oh, it did, or they wouldn't. Yeah, it definitely had to, or they wouldn't have any money to spend.
It hasn't been on the transaction report, so I there's been no confirmation about it at all.
Right, right, but they were at 4 under, and now they've made 2 signings that would have eaten that up and more. So they had to have done it.
Yeah, there's something that we haven't seen reported perfect, like it hasn't been executed yet that we haven't seen. So I'm just trying to figure out what that is. It could also be the Tyreek Hill extension. There's been
true
multiple. I've seen multiple Instagram posts about his sister saying when your brother's about to sign his extension. So whether that is true or not, I mean, it's possible they've done something. We just have to wait and find out.
Yeah. I will tell you this. This is the free agent list here, folks. Let me pull this up.
Rasul Douglas is not on that anymore.
Well, yeah, he went back to Green Bay. This is to and from. So yeah, that's done. So all that's left here, Logan Ryan's actually signed, but they don't have the details yet. So what's left? Trey Waynes? No thanks.
Ooh. Gilmore,
I don't think he's covered anyone. Gilmore, possibly. I would take a look at Kyle Fuller. I liked him before he went to Denver. I think Bryce Callahan can still play, but these are level 3, 1 year, $4 million type deals. This is like Rashad Breeland money for those guys at 30 years old.
I take a shot at Verrett too on a 1-year deal.
I can't trust him to stay healthy.
That's why it's a 1-year deal. But I mean, I would still look to bring him in. He was really good last year.
I'd look at Kevin King before that. I just won't line him up in the nickel. I'll tell you that.
No, I'll take my chances with the guy who's injured over Kevin King.
I mean, quite frankly, at this point, if you guys look at this list, it's coming back to the point where Mike Hughes could return and be your 4th or 5th. And unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
You're going to have to hit in the draft on somebody that is a starter level, meaning 3rd best on your roster or better. And that's just what it comes down to. I didn't think that this was the greatest group of free agents at this corner position to begin with. And it certainly is proving out to be difficult. Scott, what's the most questionable move by Veach so far this offseason? Questionable? I don't know. Letting Pringle go? Not making him a better offer? I don't know.
maybe I think it's more of they haven't addressed the edge position. I know bringing back Frank Clark is
That's
technically,
not the answer.
but
Yeah.
it's not the answer. And I know that it would have cost money. I understand that. But I think that there is some value that they left on the table with the edge position. And they've put themselves into a predicament where they might force themselves into reaching at 30 for a guy who they don't want. Especially if you have guys like Malik Herring and Joshua Kando that are just UDFAs and day 3 guys that may never, ever produce. They may never develop. You're putting yourself in a bad
Herring
position.
might be the biggest question mark we've seen on this roster in 5 seasons.
We haven't heard a peep
because if he returns to form,
he would have been a second round.
If he
pick.
returns to what he was at Georgia, yeah, exactly. So like he could be
That's
totally perfect, and that's part of the equation.
Yeah,
or he could be nothing at all, and that's the rub that we're in, folks. We won't know, and that's why for those people who do say just trust in Veach, at some point you have to, because he sees players like Malik. They understand where Jody's at in his recovery. Those kind of things that we as public don't get to see. I mean, even we as beat reporters, the beat reporters that I talk to every week, they don't know. And that level of secrecy is just, it's a challenge all the way around. DD with Zary signing with the Vikings, Prayer and Wilson. What do we do now? Get ready to draft. Get ready to draft 2 of them is my guess.
Yeah.
I will say this too. They just got an extra 7th and they have 2 thirds. If they really want somebody, if they really want Trayvon Walker, who I still think, despite his excellent performance in testing, I still think he's the 3rd edge in this class, not the 1st.
Top 10.
I know. I don't necessarily buy that. Okay. But if you have an extra 3rd and an extra 7th, you have the firepower to get up into the teens at least. And maybe that's part of what they have to do in order to go fix the edge position. And maybe that's Cam Thomas. Maybe that is a job. I don't think that it can be. But who do you have 4th, or have you ranked yet?
I need to just pull up the thing really quick, and then
because I had a Jabo 4th. I think Cam Thomas and Jermaine Johnson are going to jump him for me, just because of the availability in
so that's something that I've tried to avoid doing, and that's not like an indictment on you, because I want to rate players based on what they are.
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't change my evaluation of them. I'm just saying that I don't think the teams will value them the same, because that is part of the equation for the teams.
Yeah, I get that. So I still think, let me see. Here it is. Here's the edges. So yeah, no, Ojabo is still going to be actually, no, I lied. Go away. Jermaine Johnson is my 4.
He's your 4? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And then I've got Ojabo right behind him. But I have I have like Drake Jackson above Karlaftis, Thomas above Karlaftis. I don't like Karlaftis, man. I don't see it. He's like even worse athletic Aiden Hutchinson in terms of build, and he doesn't have the step. He doesn't have the tools. So yeah, I don't get that. But
he's linear only, in my opinion. Yeah. I can't see him turn at all.
Yeah, and so he's just signed with the Lions, by the way.
So that's kind of what's going to happen. If they really have to get desperate to fix and take a starting level edge, they're going to have to trade up. Luckily, they have some collateral to do it this year.
Yeah.
So that may be the answer overall. HD Dreamin, thank you for the support. We appreciate you very much. Hopefully you have a question in there too. I will go back and check that in a minute, because Dan's going to answer Ian here, and I will go back.
What's up? At this point, not much pass rush available. Is Clowney with a look at a 1-year deal, probably better than any of the defensive that they currently have. Okay, so here's my thing. I'm not paying Jadeveon Clowney any more than $8 million a year. Any more. Now I'm not even a little bit more. Not 1 cent more. And it's a 1-year deal. That's it. If he wants to come in Kansas City, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a 1-year deal. Only $8 million, and even that point, it's probably incentive laden, because I'm not gonna keep paying you for something you're not doing. He's an excellent run defender. But it would be like paying Frank Clark again, but a more athletic Frank Clark, a guy who doesn't produce in anything other than run defense right now. I'm not doing it, and so if he wants to take an incentive laden deal for 1 year, okay. You're muted. You're muted.
I hate it when I do that. That kind of sucks. I'm with you though. If you're willing to put out for it and you actually earn those incentives, I'm happy to pay you. I need to stay giving it to you.
Nope.
Not conning me into that. I'll tell you that. Okay, got a couple more stacked up here, you guys. We're gonna keep on. Oh, don't want to end it. Nope, that was the wrong button.
Ooh, well.
Okay, that was close. Jake, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. Sorensen is gone right now. Yes, he is. Do you guys think that about all these 1 years that they keep signing, going back to 20? It seems like constant inconsistent roster.
Yeah.
It's just the cost of doing business. It is for now. With the drop to 182 last year in the cap, coming right on the heels of signing Chris Jones and signing Patrick Mahomes, it's kind of you could call it a tempest or a cluster something if you wanted. Either way. And so, yeah, it's a way to skip through the next couple of years until you get that cap gap. Which next year, exactly, get younger, have those rookie contracts, and that'll help you. And so it is a function, and they will get there. Something I'm missing in the chat because I'm so far behind. Dan gets to live live, and I don't.
I do. No, I just saw RJ in the chat. What's up, RJ?
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate you. Hey, RJ. Hope you're doing well. Chiefs Knicks fan. Thank you as always. I would like to see Mahomes light the league up this year as if it was 2018 all over again. And better defense on his side. I would too, and I hope that I don't want to downplay what Juju Smith-Schuster is. He's a competent player. I don't see him as anything other than a solid player that takes coverage away from Tyreek and Travis. Like, he's not an all NFL player. You know, he's not all world. So I do think they need still some upside in youth as well.
I mean, I personally think he still has upside and youth. He's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And if he can get back to just what he was in 2020, which was 800 plus yards and 9 touchdowns, that's everything you want. That's everything you need for this offense going forward. If he could be that guy, I would sign him. If we could confirm that would be him, I would sign him to a 3-4 year deal right now. I wouldn't even blink twice about it because you have your offense. Boom, done. So
I'm with you. If you could guarantee that, I'd be
exactly. That's why there's this 1 year deal. If he does what he did in 2020, this year he will be a Kansas City Chief for the next 3 years, in my opinion.
I like it. Thank you, Knicks fan. Appreciate the super chat and all the support, as for all of you as well tonight.
Very much.
Dan, we're going to speed up a little bit because I got like 50 stacked here. Donnie, thank you for the support. The couch is great, by the way.
Nice.
Is Arden Key an inside rusher to you? No, he is not.
100% he is.
You think he can not only survive, but actually
That's what he just did.
Inside?
That's what he just did all season in San Francisco. He was an inside rusher, an interior rusher.
Yeah, and what did he do?
He had his most sacks in the season ever. Like, that's what he did.
Most sacks ever.
He was like 6.
He had his third lowest pressure percentage.
He also didn't play as much. He's a rotational player. He's not a guy you can play out there very much, but he's an interior guy.
That's why I put more on the pass rush rate of how many pressures you get based on how many snaps you take at the pass rush. It's just a different way of looking at it. You're right. He got home more. No, he can't. I don't think he can play much at all. I am not impressed with him.
No, he's an interior guy. He's probably going to be in like Detroit next year and not do very well. But that's what they do in San Francisco, by the way. They get these guys, they get them their most sacks in their careers. They got them 1 year deal and they get them out. That's what they do.
Exactly. And honestly, in playing in that front allowed him singled up more so than I think he's going to see anywhere else. So you guys want to play him on the inside, let him go. I'm out. See ya. Donnie, thank you for the question, though. That was a good point. Ryan, we got Naughty back, run stuffing 2-down guy. Yep. That's exactly what we think too, and we like him. Do you think that who would provide the best value in free agency at this point? The best value out there?
It's Melvin, right? It's Melvin and probably
maybe
Melvin.
Gilmore.
Maybe if depending on his thing, but those are the two guys you're looking at. I think, in my opinion,
absolutely. I'm trying to pull up the end list as well. Ryan, you had a nice slew of them here, dude.
Yeah, right?
There's the signing of Justin Reed move safety to a day 3 priority in the draft. I do not think so.
It's day 2 still because you're still trying to find that guy to let Snead be an outside corner. So if you can get a safety / nickel guy on day 2, like Louis Cine, or Cine, whoever.
We both like him.
Get some of these Georgia Bulldogs in here, man.
Right? I mean, let's be serious. I had an interesting mock the other day. You want teams that have not only won in their regular season, but have face the best competition. You want Alabama players, you want Georgia players, you want Cincinnati players. And there's a ton of Cincinnati guys that are undervalued because of the conference they play in this year.
Jerome Ford.
Oh, yeah. So if we can't land Za'Darius, what's the plan for the pass rush? It is to try to get Melvin and put in a starting level draft pick and see what else you can find. I mean, who else is out there? I will not put it past him to bring somebody in like Jerry Hughes, who's 33, or I mean, I could even see Carl Nassib on this roster. The common hate for Todd Haley, I think, paves the way for Carl to be on this roster. I'm just saying. I think that's perfectly fine.
Bring it in.
Aaron, thank you. I'm glad you guys are digging the Reaper stuff. That is a fun piece. You guys can find that in the store. You can get this one as well. I think Mahomes will be the Reaper again. That's why I haven't taken any of that stuff down. I think he will still have that on him. He just needs the support. Jack Hall, do you think we should start addressing the defensive free agency and the draft CB or edge? Yes, and yes. I will take them all.
If you could tell me right now that those are the first two picks, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, I would even take a waiver. Did Derek Barnett sign back somewhere?
I don't know.
I would even take a flyer on him. I'm trying to look down the younger side of the list here. I mean, Kamoko Trey, I would take a flyer on him on a 1 year.
Yeah, I would too.
I take 3 or 4 stabs at it and see who you could get back. I mean, Okafor is going to be back out there. I think you know what he has.
I think this is about Malik Herring, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is about Malik Herring.
I hope so.
Obviously, knock on wood, but we have heard nothing. We've heard nothing. That tells me a little bit. Okay, it's not a lot, but it tells me I think that they're looking for something out of him this year. I believe it, and I'm hoping that can happen because, like we just mentioned, if he could be that guy that he was at Georgia, that was a guy who was a day 2 pick, an early day 2 pick, probably. So that's what I think is what they're hoping for.
He's one of the guys that made Jermaine Johnson go to Florida State.
Yeah,
that's how good he was. So that should tell you amongst that roster, that's pretty good. Scott, Matt Ryan versus Wentz. I think we both feel it was an upgrade for the Colts. We covered that earlier before everybody got here, I think. Did you see that Hill's contract is done yet? No, it is not. That we know for certain. It has not been announced. It could be him. It could be Patrick that opened up the space that they're using for these last couple signings, but they're so crafty.
They love it. They just love not giving us anything.
Sean, if the Chiefs don't bring back Williams and some pass rushers, what do you think they're going to do with those positions? Draft. I could even see them, if they don't have a guy at 30 that they think is a fit, that it can be a starter, I can see them trading down in order to take more stabs at the developmental guys. I don't think I'd like that.
No, much. I don't think so either, but we've seen too much of that already.
Okay, Hayden, Jaden's got one. Take that. I'm going to grab the rest, and we're going to try to get
back to Sean's question.
Dang it. Terrible. I'm terrible.
What up, Jaden? Is there a free agent that's a big name guy still out there that we can get, or is it pretty much over? So there's 2 technically big names, maybe technically 3 if you want to count Patrick Peterson. But I'm not counting Patrick because he's no longer a big name in my opinion. But you have Za'Darius Smith and then you have Stephon Gilmore. Those are the 2 guys out there that I think, obviously Tyrann Mathieu as well, let's just be honest, he's one of the 5 best safeties in the NFL, in my opinion. Still is, even with his declining athleticism. So those are the 3 guys that I think you're looking at in terms of big names that you could realistically get at this point.
I'm with you. Folks, I'm not ignoring your questions. I'm going to consolidate because we're tight on time. I do see a lot of questions about the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So rank me the AFC West first to worst. Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders.
Right at this point in time, like with the Chiefs having a ton of holes on the roster, you're not going to like the answer to the question, but on paper, I would have the Chargers, then the Chiefs, then the Broncos, and the Raiders. Only because of paper. This is paper, guys. Relax. Please relax. It's on paper.
And I'm talking about day 1 of camp. Yeah. So that's where I'm projecting. Holly, thank you for the support. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're back. Do you think the Chiefs will prioritize another bigger, faster running back in the draft, or will they just continue to not run the ball? I mean, Andy's Andy. If they take a draft selection without addressing edge, corner, safety, linebacker, defensive tackle, right tackle, and wide receiver. If they take a running back for any of that, then we riot. It's over.
I probably wouldn't riot if it was Jerome Ford, but you guys can't tell. He's a real big favorite of mine.
Yeah. Like you like him even more than I do, and I thought I was like the leader of the fan club. No, but Holly, there's a lot of decent talent at the running back spot in this particular draft. They can get somebody in free agency. They can get somebody with one of the 7th round picks. Rashad White from ASU comes to mind. The kid from Baylor. It's not Abraham. It's Abram Smith.
Yeah, that's right.
Like there's a lot. I like the kid from Indiana who's from USC. What's his name? Carr. I think he'll be a UDFA, and I think you plug him in and go. Thank you, Miss Holly. Appreciate
you, Holly.
Knicks fan, appreciate you as well. Do we still need to draft more DE? Oh, yes, absolutely. Both, and maybe more than one at
probably
one of those. Who should the Chiefs target in rounds 1 through 3?
Edge, corner, safety. Like that's probably going to be your 1, 2, and 3 picks in some order.
Yeah,
I think.
And I would throw a wide receiver being the next one for the top 100 to get the 4 top 100 picks. And I'm calling 103 a top 100 pick, you guys, just for the sake of
that makes sense.
Condensing. Des, thank you for the support. Ollie, Juju on a 3.25 base, still wanting another receiver. Not necessarily another receiver in free agency for me. I mean, not like a name. I could see bringing back DeMarcus later or something.
Stop
like
talking.
That. I'm just saying.
Don't. I think he's done. I think this is it. Okay. I think he's done.
Okay. All right. Skyman, how are you? Why don't they have a team meeting and just ask people to drop their salaries so they can get better teammates? That doesn't happen in the NFL.
It doesn't happen.
The Patriots didn't do that either. A couple of their leaders took some money off. It was not like the team as a whole. And quite frankly, they don't have enough guys right now that can reduce their salaries enough to make a difference. Yeah. So, like, what do we have? There's 48 guys on contract. They need 90 to go to camp. So that's how far off of it is. It is really about this
stuff has to happen.
Yeah. They're I wouldn't even be surprised if they restructure Chris Jones's deal because they can get 18 back that way and just add on to his end of his contract. It is really it has to be a bigger chunk there. And they're just going to bite the bullet this year, I think. Which team of the draft do you want to see playing next to 95? Wyatt.
I mean, ideally it'd be Wyatt if you could.
Yeah. I will tell you this though. I like Travis Jones in the 3rd, for 90% of Wyatt in the 1st. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
He's pretty good. I will tell you this: the other sleeper, the 2 other sleepers that I like, Logan Hall should be a 3rd round pick for me. I don't think he's a top 60 guy, and I like Thomas Booker, who I think you might even get in the 3rd or the late 3rd or the 4th. He's out of Stanford. Doesn't get a lot of press. Like, I like the way he moves. There's a lot of options, Andy. Appreciate the question. Jonathan, thank you. If you don't sign Robinson, do you think that it speaks to the development of Fountain and Powell at all, or is it just the plan to get someone in the draft? I think it would be a little bit of both. You know what DeMarcus is. He's not going to change. No. If you do sign him, he would be like your 5th type. And that would mean that you're not getting progression from Fountain and Powell, but you also have a steady, what you're getting.
Yeah.
they seem to like that a lot, even though it's not, up to par. Opinions on Carlos Dunlap. I think he's pretty much toast. I don't think that he has the acceleration anymore.
His
camera shuts off. It happens.
That's fun.
It's a battery thing. I've been there. There's a possibility, like if he was a rotational pass rusher that got a lot of time off, I could see them bringing him in for like a situational kind of thing. That might work. But as I look at the list, I think there's other guys. I mean, even Fackrell's out there. I mean, I like the idea of checking on Barnett. I like the idea of taking a swing at Tack and just see what you got. I don't think there's much there, but like for a $1.8 million deal for a 1 year, like you gotta kick the tires, in my opinion. Des, thank you for the support again. Do you see Casey going at 30 for Kyer Elam or trading up to get him? I don't think they'll have to trade up to get him. I have him outside of the 1st round. If they took him at 30, I don't think I would throw a fit, but we're talking about Kyrie Elam at 30, Dan.
I'd like him at 30, honestly. I think he
live with
can
it.
give you more than Ward ever did in terms of being the guy that they wanted Ward to be. I think he has the ball skills, the length, the physicality, everything to play a little bit like that. And that wasn't my camera shutting off the battery. It just decided to stop working. Just shut off. Cool.
Yeah, mine does that from time to time. You guys, I'm going through again. I'm trying to condense the questions so we get to them all. And super chatters, every one of you that supports us will get your question answered. I promise you. And we're just going to speed up. We're under 30 now. So yeah, I mean, we can live with it. I don't think they'll have to trade up to get him. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I actually think he'll go at the top of the second if everything plays out right. Are one of your deals like Juju worth it in the long run? Need stability instead of moving the goal post every season. No, it's not moving the goalpost. It's moving who helps you get there. And I think that is worth it. You're not talking about replacing your stars. You're talking about role players.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem with that. I think it does bring in new blood, and I think it gives you a different twist every year. And quite frankly, some of the problems that they have on both sides of the ball are being predictable. So bring in new blood, be a little bit different.
I agree with that. Also gives you a chance to develop some of your guys if you want to take some hits on receivers later and stuff like that.
Absolutely. How do you guys think that they will address the lack of pass rush? I think they're down to draft and maybe a veteran. I think they're holding out for Melvin.
Yeah.
Cheers to Denmark. I hope you're doing well
Awesome.
over there. Like the avatar as well. Must be late, so cheers for being up with us. We appreciate you
very much.
Ross Veach trades back out of the second. What value do you get to start on the D this year? If they trade out of the second, back into the third, you got to be going for volume in that. Yeah. And my guess would be in the wide receiver and corner group, the volume there might be enough, but I would not recommend doing that.
I wouldn't either. I think there's going to be some good players there.
I think so too. Addicted to capping. Sorry, I missed you. Thank you, Aaron, for getting me that. Do you think DiCaprio Bootle makes the leap this year to be a serious contributor in the secondary? I do. I think he can be the fifth or sixth corner, play teams, and put in some reps like when somebody gets hurt, kind of like you've seen Rashad Fenton do the last year or two. Like, I think he's capable of that pretty easily. And I hope that we see progression from him. It's usually a pretty good jump that first year. Thank you, Addicted. I'm sorry I missed you. Deldrick, how are you? What's the news on McKinnon? No news at all. I have not heard a peep about him for any team, let alone the Chiefs. Yeah. So I think he'll be out there for a while, to tell you the truth. Again, age is a factor, but he did provide a spark. He gets hurt pretty easily, though. I'm going to wave at you anyway, Avery.
Thank you.
Good night. Spartaslayer, I like that. Do you take a Jabo at 30 if he falls? Dan would.
Yes, I would.
Will probably hold off. I would probably try to trade back into like 35, 36, 37, and then try to take him while picking up a third or a fourth in addition. That's what I would do. Thank you
makes
for
sense.
The support, though. Appreciate you, Spard. Haji, do you think that they can draft Devontae Wyatt at 30? I just don't think he makes it that far. If something comes up in the draft process, there's a possibility. If everybody gets like love crazy for the corners and edges and wide receivers, there's a possibility. But I think it's pretty slim. Do you, Dan?
Yeah, I think that there's for some reason, there's national consensus that Jordan Davis is going higher than Devontae Wyatt. And I've seen a lot of talk that he's falling in the first round, which I don't get. So We'll see what ends up happening. We won't know until draft night. But from what I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff to keep my mind fresh on things that I'm seeing and hearing. So it's interesting to say the least. I think he's going to be a top 25 player.
Yeah. And here's the significant part of that. Can you go from 30 to 23 with the Cardinals to go get it?
Yeah.
Maybe you can. And that might be the more likely scenario. With an extra third and an extra seventh, you have like 3 sevenths now.
Yeah.
They have some collateral they could move around to try to do something like that. And I think that would be worth it. I like Wyatt. I think I think Wyatt's better in terms of an overall investment in your front four pass rush than somebody like Karlaftis. You know, like
I like that. Yeah.
edge 7, I would take him easily over that. I might even be able to be persuaded up to like maybe edge 5 is not as good a value as what he brings to pass rushing on the interior. I'll get a lot of argument that way, though. Yeah. Whiskey Bravo, what do you think could be the biggest surprise of round 1 or post-draft roster move? Oh, man. I think biggest...
I was going to say, for overall? Or are we talking
for
Kansas City specific? Okay, go ahead. That's what I want to clarify.
I could see them falling in love again with an offensive prospect, especially at wide receiver, and foregoing a first-round quality defensive player for that. That would be a surprise, and I would not be so happy about that.
I think a bigger surprise would be taking a right tackle in round 1 if he falls.
Yeah. Because there's some guys on day 2 that I'm gonna like if you want to be just an ogre with a guy who doesn't know what the heck he's doing, draft Daniel Faalala. If you want to get a guy that is like Eric Fisher's little brother, draft Abe Lucas. Like those are 2 right tackles that on day 2 that you could get if you really feel you have to. Don't spend 30 on a right tackle. Good Lord, don't do that to me. You guys want to see a meltdown? Watch what happens after that. Scott, they can get 23-ish back on Mahomes' restructure if they do it. And if Dan's right, if they've done some other restructure to get this cash and not going to do it, the only reason would be is because you're not tacking on bonus cap dollars later in the contract. That's the negative from it.
And the only reason that I saw that, because I saw a Spock Track tweet about Saturday being a big payday for him. So that makes me think that the contract was not restructured. We'll see, obviously, but that was just something I saw.
Fair enough. Brett, do you think Fenton can stay healthy enough to play outside of opposite of Snead, or is Fenton better in short spurts? I think he's talented enough to play a full season. Opposite. Actually, I'd put him in the nickel and put Baker outside if you had to go with the guys that you have on the roster right now and let Boodle be your 4. I just don't know. I don't know. He hasn't played a full season yet.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a game or 2 without him. And that's where it comes into, like I was saying about Boodle. Like, he can be your 4th or 5th and play some snaps for you when you really need it.
Yeah, I think that Fenton is a guy who can play okay on some mediocre to above average receivers. He's a physical guy, but the elite guys like Jamar Chase will absolutely abuse him. And that's something that they'll figure out how to do. So he's a rotational player for me. He's not a starter.
Yeah. You would be, troublesome. This is for you, Dan. Which of Ryan's draft crushes drives you bonkers?
A little bit is Devontae Wyatt. I can't get on board drafting a defense tackle in the first round. I can't do it. And that's not, a slight at Wyatt, who was a great player. I wouldn't do it. And I don't think I would ever do it, even if he was there at 30. I think I would probably find somebody else to take.
Okay. And that's fair. I just wonder, for me, it's about, is someone else really better than him as an overall grade? And that's, I have to take the best player that can help. So Dan's not wrong.
Get it.
See, if we all agreed all the time, this would be a boring show. Anywhere everybody in our vision has 2 edges, and of course that's the issue.
I don't think that Chubb. Last year I would have thought, but he did not have a good year, and I don't think Chubb is a better defensive end than Frank Clark is, but I think his upside probably is.
Yeah. Upside on Juju is a Pro Bowl level player, 1,000-yard receiver. He could easily be that.
Yeah, I agree.
Julie, what's your thoughts on a new safety duo the Thornhill Reed will perform together over the first year? Top 15 or 10? Depends how you're asking. Completion percentage, I think they're going to give up a lot more than that. Big plays, I think they'll limit it better, and maybe they will be top 15.
Yeah, like you said, it's how you divvy it up. Are we talking about, I think ideally your safeties are best shown by big plays given up, okay? If you can limit, like they have over the last 3 years with Matthew and Thornhill and some semblance of other players, they typically outside of last year with Dan Sorensen have limited some of the big plays. If you guys noticed, as soon as like Thornhill was the guy and it was him and Matthew, big plays kind of condensed a little bit. They just kind of went away until Jamar Chase decided to rip him a new one. And then, so I think that if you can get those two on the field, the majority of your safety snaps, I think they can be a top 10 big play type of safety tandem. They have the athleticism and the speed to do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Then you just got to get creative underneath, in my opinion. Thank you, Julian. Appreciate you. Doug, okay, so Hughes signed a 1 year, 3.5. Okay, thanks, Curtis. Appreciate you. Teddy, hypothetically, if Ajabo, Williams, Burks are on the board at 30, who do we take? Added Burks because of his really bad testing numbers. Also, other guys' injuries might look at in round 1 or 2. Yeah, Burks is not a first-round pick for me at all. It's Williams. For me, it's Williams.
This is an interesting question because all three of those players would not really start in Kansas City in year 1. So you're talking about drafting a guy to be a 2023 player. And if you're projecting forward, it would be between Ajabo and Williams for me. And if you can pencil in Juju Smith-Schuster as an 800-yard year, I'm taking Ajabo. And I'm, as much as I love Jamison Williams, he is my wide receiver 1. We're talking about having to replace defensive end prospects, and a guy who has that much upside that could really be your starting defensive end next year, 2023, has more value than a guy who would be your number 2 because you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So talking about it in those terms, I would take Ajabo.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I look at it, who can get on the field and break out and break through that not starting role.
Totally
Williams is the only one I see there.
Totally get it.
Doug, we need a cornerback. What's the status of Baker? He's on the roster. He'll be there. Was he not a number 1 pick?
Yeah.
Yes, he was. He was also a knucklehead, but he's working on it. So, we're okay. But yes, right now he's one of your top 3. He, Fenton, and Snead are your top 3 corners right now. They are the starters today if they had to play a game. Do you guys think that Hill extension gets done? Dan thinks it might already be done, and he might be absolutely right.
Yeah, we don't know.
Juju, Hill, and Hardman's free agents next year. It's a lot of big receivers to replace them. Yes. And so that's why I do think you do have to add a receiver in this draft. I just don't think it should be, number 1 unless a scenario like we just saw came up.
Yeah.
Teddy, also, does Juju eliminate us from wide receiver at 30 or 62?
No. 1-year deals will never do that for you.
No. Because if he plays out of his mind, someone's going to pay him through the nose next year, and he's gone. So, I mean, that is the other side of the razor, right? As you take
exactly.
But I'm also one. I don't think Christian Watson is a first-round pick.
I'll tell you guys now. I just got done with Christian Watson. He is the elite athlete at his position with a fringe 3rd-round draft grade, in my opinion, on film. He is not a very good. He doesn't know what he's doing, and they have him run 3 routes. 3 routes, and
it's go post, and there's another one. Did I miss something?
He runs the most curls I've ever seen of any wide receiver in this draft. I
don't even watch those.
I have to. and the problem with Watson is he doesn't play to his size. He's kind of small for a 6'3", 6'4" guy, 208. It's not what you want to see.
It's a little narrow.
He also has timing issues, and he doesn't track the ball very well downfield. He has some big plays, but I've also seen him just drop the ball wide open for a touchdown.
I will say this. I saw the same things. I didn't see the curl volume. Obviously, I wasn't watching well enough.
So much.
I only did 2 games. But I will say this. I saw him live at the Senior Bowl. He didn't drop a ball that he could touch, and he went up and got stuff like vertically.
He has that ability
too. Right, but he had to track it to do it, is my point. Like, he showed all the things that on his film are deficiencies. He did at the Senior Bowl with just like 3 days of pro coaching.
Do you want to know who else did the same thing?
Oh, yeah. Tell me, go on.
Denzel Mims.
Yep. I know it. I knew you were going there, and I don't blame you. That's why I have Christian Watson as a 2nd-round selection, and he could be there at 62.
Yeah.
If the NFL agrees with me, he could be your pick at 2. Julian, can you see Juju getting 1,000 yards and being the number 2? How many yards can CEH finish with if assuming he's healthy? Take it.
This is the
We
question.
agree.
Yeah, Juju's, yes, he definitely can be. If Clyde's healthy, but you have to add the caveat. If Andy Reid decides, hey, we got to run the ball more, Clyde could finish easily over 1,000 yards. He could. And I know no one wants to hear that. I know you don't want to hear it. But if Andy Reid decides to use this offensive line to the strength of what it is and let Clyde do what he does best, he legitimately could get 1,000 yards. He almost had 1,000 yards his rookie season. Okay? We forget that.
Yeah, it is out there. It's on film.
It's there,
Aaron,
guys.
Aaron, good point. Ton of us in here tonight. Woo! If you guys would click the thumb, that would help us. We appreciate that. I assume most of you are subbed, but if you're not and you're just hanging out with us, click that sub and the bell notification.
Appreciate y'all.
Knicks fan, thank you again. You're a machine tonight. Thank goodness for Sorensen being gone and the DB room just got better. Look, someone just got wide open again. Thanks, Sorensen. You should write short stories, I'm telling you. Like you could highlight all these games. Thank you, Knicks fan.
Awesome.
Julian, I think I got this. Oh no, there's another one. Safety in the draft would excel immediately as the third safety role for Spags. And where do you think Kyler Gordon fits in the scheme? A Dan Sorensen role. I have two that I like. I would put Petrie down there. I don't really want him playing super high all the time. He could do it when he wants. I like Brian Cook, and I'm higher on a lot of people on him, but I think he could definitely play down there in the Sorensen role. I like Kyler Gordon in second, and he does fit. He can do it all. Just because Washington doesn't ask them to play man doesn't mean they can't. McDuffie's better at it than Gordon is, in my opinion, in terms of staying in phase. Well, go ahead.
McDuffie's so good, man.
I know, right?
I watched one game of his the other night, and I fell in love with what he does. I don't care. He's got short arms. The dude he sees everything before it happens. He's breaking on balls before they're thrown. He knows what's happening. It's
all up here.
I love that.
He's the most instinctual corner to come out of the Pac-12 since Marcus Peters, you guys.
Yeah.
And he has some similarities to the way Marcus played. He will bait quarterbacks.
He's also better in coverage. He's a better coverage player.
There's that. Yeah. So, yes. He definitely does fit, Julie. They would play more zone because he is better at that, in my opinion, but he can play man, and so can Gordon. Zach, thank you for the support. Barno Amare. He is at the top of the matrix. Absolutely. What do you think about him? And is your mate? Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. The matrix has been 15 years in the making, so it has evolved quite nicely. It is very predictive at this point. And here's the problem with Barno. He is a 3-4 only edge, in my opinion. He cannot hold the point of attack enough to be a 4-man front DE, but he explodes off the ball. Like you run a NASCAR package, you put him on the outside where the tackle cannot get to him fast enough. Like he's what Kamiko Toure could have been, in my opinion. But I see him as a late day 2, early day 3 talent because of just not enough sand in the pants to really set the edge and be a full-time player. Do you see something different, Dan?
I haven't seen him. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, you're all right.
I've not seen him.
It's VTech. It's okay. Zach, you thanks for the support, and thank you for checking out the Matrix and supporting it. I appreciate you. Knicks fan, again, you're on fire, dude. Powell over Robinson. Sir. I'm sick of him. Okay, that's another vote for Powell over Robinson. Give the new guy a chance. Tom made it. How you doing, Tom? Just hopping in to say hi. I haven't been able to catch the live streams lately. You've been busy. I don't blame you. You're a busy man.
Appreciate you, Tom.
Give me an email again. I thought I saw it, but I've been so swamped doing work, man. I will get back to you, I promise. Guess of Juju's stats. I'm going to say 706.
I was about to say 750 and about 7. That's where I'm at too.
Okay. Oliver, there is a possibility that Matthew doesn't get the market he wants and he could come back. The question is, how do you go from being the leader of the defense to being a role player? Because if he comes back as the third safety, that's what he is.
Yep.
He's not. He can't be the captain anymore. That has proven disastrous at other stops along the way. So that's the problem. Devontae Rose, how are you? Could this be the draft year to be mostly defensive players? Absolutely. I think it has to be probably all but one.
Yeah, I agree.
Ryan, yes, they are holding out hope for Ingram. It is a risk. Big Chief Sean is here. You guys check out his channel as well, and you'll see more from him coming up, I am sure, over and around here sometimes. What players do you like to trade or cut? Is there somebody you would trade today?
No. Most of the players that you have that value are integral to your success and building going forward. And I mean, I don't think I'd cut anybody that's currently on the roster
I'm trying to think. I don't think so either.
at this point, anyway.
I mean, there's like 2 linebackers on this roster right now.
Yeah.
There's 2 safeties. Like it's a bare cupboard. So no, I would not trade anybody or cut anybody. Would I trade somebody? I think the idea of trading one of your stars is the same thing. They're integral to your success, and I don't think you can get away with it and still be successful.
Yeah.
That's my big deal. Yeah, Dan, you're absolutely right. Folks, we're going to hit the super chats and we're going to wrap it up because I can't tell time, evidently. We're in
I just messaged Ryan a little bit ago, like, we did it again, guys. We always do it.
I'm sorry. There's too many questions.
I know.
So I'm gonna hit these rapid fire, except for the super chatters. So round 1 or 2, Booth Jr. or Daxton Hill. If that's your first and second round, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Is Zane Anderson ready to make the jump to a starting role? No, he is not. He could be your third, though. I will give him that. It's about how much he's learned. It's mental, not physical for him. I think he's got the tools. Let's see. Mind shifts Gilmore. Good for the team. I think he could be. That experience you can't replace any other way. Alyssa, rock chalk to you as well, my dear. I have them winning as well in the only bracket I've made this year. Eric Schneider, thank you. If Brisker drops to 30, would he be a fit? I don't think he'll drop to 30. I think he's a second day pick. And I could live with that. I don't think I would use it at 62, but I could take him in the third.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can see that.
I haven't finished him. I've only done 2 games so far, so I'm not 100% done with his film yet, Eric. Seem more comfortable playing in coverage than Scene. I would disagree with that. I feel like Scene can do it all, to tell you the truth.
I would agree with that assessment.
I think Brisker's feet might be a little quicker, though. I can see where you're coming from, Eric. But I'll finish that up, and we'll have a report for you. It'll be in the draft guide either way, and we're doing some cool stuff this year. What about adding Dunlap, and what about Kyan? Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate you. I don't think Dunlap can help you. He'd be a role player, like a stopgap emergency kind of guy for me. I don't think he can make an impact. And Kyrie Elam in the second, I can live with, and I think he could fit into the defense. That's not a problem. Dez, thank you again. Could we take a pass-catching tight end later or Alec Pierce in 2 or 3 as a good pick? Possibly. It depends what else you get done. Like if they do and land an edge or a corner, suppose they're working on some crazy trade right now that we know nothing about, right? And they take care of the edge or the corner issue, then maybe there's enough room to do a tight end in the top 100. I would probably wait until after that, though, to tell you the truth.
Round 4.
Yeah. Like I like Ruckert. I like Ferguson. They're both going to be like late day 2, early day 3 guys. I like Pierce. I would not take him before the 3rd, though, because the production doesn't match what you get in testing.
Yeah.
So I'm a little concerned there. Here, answer this one, and I'll just double check for any last minute super chatters.
This is for you, though. So Ryan, just say the guy you really want in the draft. Just say the guy you really want.
The guy that I really want?
Yeah.
Trayvon Walker. I really do.
Thibodeau.
Do you?
I do. I don't.
Okay.
I don't have any questions about his mentality. Like, this is trying to get. It's been overblown, dude. It's been overblown.
That's probably true. Like, I want to have beers with Thibodeau, but like, I want to go to war with Trayvon Walker is what I want to do.
I want a guy who knows how to rush the passer.
Yeah, I think he can get there. I think he can do a little bit of everything with his body.
He can too. That's the thing. I know.
This is what I wanted. I'm not saying it's the best
I know.
This is what I want.
I get it. The dude's a mauler. He just ridiculous.
If he gets his hands right, if he spends a summer with Chuck Smith, he could be the next coming of Garrett. I mean, that's.
I disagree with that. I don't think he's got that upside, but I think he could be an elite pass rusher. I don't think he can get to Garrett's level.
Okay, fair enough. I think you're more impressed with Garrett than I am, just to begin with. So that's probably part of my bias. Probably. How many starter level and main backups do we need?
All of
them. Let's see. Yeah. 1 edge, 2 edge, starting DT, starting corner.
2 corners.
3rd. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like 3rd safety, fourth corner, fourth wide receiver,
Another defensive
backup
tackle.
right tackle. yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Whoa.
So Adam, there's a lot to go around. Tom, thank you. As I was told to ask by my Bears fan fiance, that's all right. Do you think Prickle will do this year for the Bears? What could be his ceiling? If they feed him,
he could be a 1,000-yard receiver.
Look at what he did best for Patrick. He broke routes off. He made himself available to a scrambling quarterback. That's what Justin Fields is. If they can hit it off and get on the same page together, they could make beautiful music. I'll put it that way.
I also think he's got more one-on-one 50-50 ball than was showed in this offense. I think Justin Fields can unlock that a little bit if given the right leeway.
I agree. We're going to wrap it with Julian. Thoughts on signing Gilmore for 7+ incentives, up to 12, and Za'Darius for $9 million in incentives? I would take both? Either of those or both.
Bring them both.
Yeah.
Those are great
Julian,
ideas.
I like the way that you think. I just need you to go talk to their agents and get it done.
Yeah, right?
Oh, okay, folks. We are out of time. I know it went over again. Thank Aaron Morrow for running the chat. Thank you guys. I think Stevie was in here. I didn't see Gooch. Sean's in here. Bunch of our contributors. Jeff Porter, everybody give him a hand.
Thank you guys. He's been awesome.
Doing all the stat research for the draft guide like he does for me every year. Thank you to Jeff. I don't think he's here, but I wanted to say it out loud. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Aaron, for running the show on the hard part instead of just yakking like we get to do.
Yeah, right.
You all have a great night. We'll have content for you tomorrow. Anything happens, I will have reaction for you, and we will go from there. You guys have an awesome evening. We'll talk to you next time.